why don't we start by sharing a bit about your professional journey? You've spent a lot of time with Policybazaar. A little bit about some of your key experiences that have shaped you into the marketing professional you are today.
So I have been with Policybazaar for a little over 11 and a half years now. It has been an extremely interesting journey so far for a couple of reasons. One, it was not just about building a brand. It was mostly about creating a category which has very little existing demand. So essentially what you're trying to do as a marketer is you're trying to create new demand. That is one. And B, you're also trying to build a habit. You're trying to build and influence consumer behavior. 3 stages broadly in the entire journey of brand marketing for Policybazaar. Early on, I think it was mostly about familiarizing people with the idea of logging onto a website and comparing multiple options on the same page.
Hello and welcome to Marketing Manifestations. My name is Manasi. I've been a career marketer both in the private and now in the social impact space. And I host this monthly podcast for Manifest Media, where the idea is to talk to marketeers across industries, across brands, across organizations, talking about the work they do and how marketing is an integral contributor to a business and to an organization's top and bottom line. For this episode, we have a special guest, Samir Sethi, the head of brand marketing at Policybazaar, who spends his working life bringing to us a category that's extremely important, and we'll talk about how he makes it interesting and relevant. Samir, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure.
Samir, why don't we start by sharing a bit about your professional journey? You've spent a lot of time with Policybazaar.
Yeah.
A little bit about some of your key experiences that have shaped you into the marketing professional you are today.
So I have been with Policybazaar for a little over 11 and a half years now. And it has been an extremely interesting journey so far for a couple of reasons. One, it was not just about building a brand. It was mostly about creating a category which has very little existing demand. So essentially what you're trying to do as a marketer is you're trying to create new demand. That is one. And B, you're also trying to build a habit. You're trying to build and influence consumer behavior. So for example, the comparison behavior had existed in a lot of categories before. So for example, travel, etc. Insurance was a category where the comparison behavior was non-existent. So it was also about building that behavior apart from creating new demand, and also along the way building the brand. So it's been an intersection of all of these things.
Yeah, that's fascinating that you say this, because you're right, it's important. The category is something that people do need, but they don't want.
Yeah.
And you've not only sold the category, but you've sold the aggregation of it. So
Right.
Can we double click a little more on how have you created this category and what's been the marketing journey to create awareness, create relevance,
Right.
educate consumers and so on?
Sure. I think in financial services and especially in insurance, it is extremely important to first educate and then try to build the brand, because trust is an extremely important factor. So being an online platform, I think one of the challenges was to convince people that, hey, comparison is going to benefit you eventually in terms of, let's say, saving money, and also in terms of getting the product that's the best for you, which is facilitated by sort of solving for the information asymmetry and offering a lot of transparency in a lot of the information around policies that are available. So I think there have been about 3 stages broadly in the entire journey of brand marketing for Policybazaar. Early on, I think it was mostly about familiarizing people with the idea of logging onto a website and comparing multiple options on the same page. So building that habit, and one of the ways we tried to do that was to sort of tell people how they can, for example, save, say, 10,000 rupees on their car insurance. That went on for a few years, and I think after a period, it became sort of second nature for people to start comparing online before buying. Post that, what we figured was, when we were at a certain scale, that especially for categories like term insurance and health insurance, which are extremely critical for people's families and protecting their financial future, it had less than adequate existing demand. So the way we try to solve for that is that if you look at our advertising over the years, It has mostly centered around building the category. It has mostly centered around convincing people why a health insurance policy or a term insurance is important for them and their families because of reasons like medical inflation and how serious diseases are becoming increasingly common, etc. And how for term insurance, every middle class person needs it because they don't really have a lot of wealth which their families can rely on if, God forbid, they were not there. So that has went on for the last many years, and it still continues. But I think another important factor for a lot of people is the anxiety around claims. People actually buy insurance to be able to use it later, and that later may or may not come. But when it comes and that promise is not fulfilled, that leads to a lot of disappointment. So we have tried to solve for it through multiple campaigns around how Policybazaar helps people during claims and how we just don't disappear after selling the policy, how we're with them through and through. A couple of campaigns we have done with real customers and bringing them on national television. So as they say, the proof of the pudding lies in its eating. So when the audience sees these people who've actually benefited from these insurance policies and they are recounting their experience in a very, very genuine and authentic manner, I think that builds a lot of confidence, and that sort of tries to bridge the trust deficit around claims.
Yeah, so I mean, and you've unpacked some very important points. I think one, there's the behavior of comparison, and now comparison may be easier in categories where there's an inherent desire, which was not the case with insurance. No. So you had to create that awareness, and then, as you said, claims are a very, very important part, and unfortunately, you have to use those claims at a time of emotional distress. So I think, yeah, using testimonials has obviously, I guess, is a very, very smart strategy. But if we can go back a little bit, and you spoke about how your advertising also talks to building the category, right? Could you talk us through some campaigns, or you've used some, you have used celebrities in the past.
Right.
So what's been your advertising and celebrity strategy?
So one of the intentions has been to, appeal to the masses and also keep it extremely relatable. So one of the things we did back in 2018 with Akshay Kumar was we borrowed a very widely understood character from the Indian culture, which is the Yamraj. Akshay Kumar played the Yamraj and sort of educated people about why it's extremely important to buy term insurance for your family because life is uncertain. People know their birthdays. People don't really know when they're going to not be around. That is the reality. And I think that campaign sort of, clicked with a lot of people. And it was extremely successful business-wise as well. And a lot of people still remember it. So that has been a good outing. And then over the years, we've also worked with many other celebrities like Kapil Sharma and Pankaj Tripathi. And they've used their own style and humor to sort of appeal to people why health and term insurance are extremely important for their families.
So typically your advertising strategy tends to be mass celebrity or celebrities who have mass appeal, very authentic, down to earth.
Extremely.
And typically do you do multi-year campaigns?
Yes. So for example, the Yamraj campaign also had a second leg. So that went on for a couple of years. But after that, what we do is we, crack an idea and a concept first, and we crack the script. And whoever we think is the best fit for that is the celebrity we try and onboard. Now, it is rarely about getting a celebrity and customizing a script for them, but it's mostly about,
the other way around.
The other way around, yes.
Which is, I think, a remarkable learning for our audience, that you're looking at brand first, what the brand needs to achieve, what's the brand persona, and then fitting the celebrity.
Yeah.
And I think all the celebrities you mentioned are people with genuine, very authentic personas, right? So I think that's great. But Samir, taking on from this, you're a mass brand, you aspire to reach both urban and rural India. So have you used any large ticket sponsorships or events, or how do you use those to reach out to your audience?
I think our events and sponsorship strategy could be described in two parts. One is obviously associating with extremely big mass events like the Cricket World Cup or the IPL, etc. Those we do from an FCT advertising point of view because in this category, the core TG is sort of aggregated in an unmatched way with a platform like cricket. And within cricket, there's nothing bigger than the IPL and the World Cup.
Absolutely.
So that has been a recurrent thing for us for the last many years. But now over and above that, in the last few years, we have also tried to build an association between health insurance and health, and then ultimately Policybazaar. So for that, we've also partnered with events like the Ironman and also High Rocks.
Oh, okay.
And many other marathons across various cities. So that is an ongoing strategy. And obviously the big ticket properties like we also did the Women's Premier League of cricket. We obviously keep doing the IPL and various other cricket tournaments. We're also evaluating sports like football, etc. So I think that's a recurrent theme because especially in participative sports like the Ironman and High Rocks, the participants are a lot more involved and the experience they take away from it and the visibility you get when let's say for example your logo is on their kits etc. that they would remember for a very long time versus just an odd logo exposure somewhere else.
So your experience with sponsorships of the cricket kind and so on
Right.
has been
extremely rewarding.
extremely rewarding. That's good to hear. If I were to sort of zoom out a little bit to your overall media mix, you are obviously digital first or a digital only
Right,
business.
right.
But how has your media mix evolved over the years? You do large ticket sponsorships and you said you
Right.
use IPL as an FCT buy. So yeah, how has your media strategy evolved and what's your rough split between online, offline? What are the main channels you use and so on?
So I would keep this discussion mainly limited to brand marketing and not touch upon performance marketing
Sure.
so much because that's a whole different ballgame. I think within brand marketing, majority of our spends are still on linear television. Till about a few years ago, they were more than 80% on linear television. But over the last couple of years, we have also been betting very big on connected TVs across OTT platforms, across OEMs, and across UGC platforms. So now I'd say it's still a majority spend linear TV, but that would probably be maybe around a 60-40 kind of a split. And the reason for betting so big on the large screen, whether it's linear or connected TVs, is the fact that we've seen a lot of very immediate impact coming from advertising on these big screens because in the last few years, there has been some sort of a distracted viewing on television also. Like back in the day, it used to be a lot more focused viewing because there were limited distractions. Now with the handheld devices always being around, it's a bit of a distracted viewing, but it also aids the response in a way that if somebody is convinced by the message, they might want to just pick up their phones and check out the website or download the app or either out of curiosity or out of genuine buying interest or whatever. So but this has worked for us.
Very interesting. So it's predominantly TV, linear connected.
Yes.
And then obviously digital will be your entire...
Yeah, so even we do some bit of mobile advertising on cricket as well. But I think the regular mainstay is largely the big screen.
Interesting, very interesting. Now you spoke about using your actual consumers, real world consumers, to give testimonials, share their experiences
Right.
about claim, reimbursement and so on. Have you used, because influencers is a very, I think, abused word right now. I know
Right.
ASCII's been all over the place with it. There's been lots of claims, counterclaims. What's been your experience? Because you are a very involved category. I may
Right.
not say high involvement, but very involved, complicated.
Yeah.
Have you had, what's been your experience with influencer?
So we have used plenty of influencers over the last few years. We still continue to do so. And whether a creator is an influencer or not for their audience is proven by the impact that they create for the brand.
Correct.
So you work with them and you either do an integration within a broader video or you do an entirely dedicated video. And if you see the impact coming within the next few hours or days, that sort of gives you an indication of how well that particular influencer is working on you. So it is extremely response-based sort of a measurement for us. So whenever we do any kind of an influencer video, it usually in a very, very short term does get people to visit our website or download our app and create a lead and eventually buy. So yeah,
So over time, you've seen that you can quickly identify
we can,
what
yes.
works and what doesn't, and that's
Exactly.
a virtuous cycle. Okay, that's good, and I think that's a level of accountability that is pretty much the gold standard
Exactly.
for marketing. Now, if we move on to obviously everybody's favorite topic of today, which is AI, and
Right.
I think we can't get up and brush our teeth without talking AI. But as a marketeer and in a very digitally sort of advanced organization, what parts of your job do you think AI can enhance, and what parts do you think as a marketeer it cannot replace?
So I see AI impacting marketing in broadly three ways. One is obviously generative AI, creating creative assets through AI, whether it's static or videos, etc. I think that is something that's currently gives you a decent output, but I think that output is going to further keep getting better over the next few months. And I think within maybe a year or a couple of years, we could probably reach a stage where before doing any big campaign shoot, you'll have to question yourself, is it really required to do a live shoot for this? Or can you just do an AI video for this? And I think while live shoots are still going to be around, the number might still reduce because I think some might get replaced by AI. That's one. So, and also the second way in which AI is going to impact marketing is through media. I think it's going to help various brands reach very intentful customers, potential customers, and also in a way reach audiences that are more prone to sort of buy your category.
So you higher affinity audiences.
Higher affinity audiences, yes. So the third way in which AI is going to impact marketing is also through a lot of attribution. I think attribution is something which has been a hot topic for a lot of marketers over the years. So I think a lot of times when you do relatively smaller scale campaigns, whether it's in a certain geography or in a certain niche segment, etc., the delta might not be so huge to identify and isolate, which sort of creates measurement problems. So I think AI could help with that, number one. And B, when you have multiple sort of activities happening at the same time. I know market mix modeling has been around for a long time and that has been a standard for various brands across the world. But I think with AI, you can obviously with a much higher confidence be able to attribute it to a certain campaign or a medium, etc.
So this is all, I think, ways in which AI will positively help. But do you still see some facets of your role as a marketer based on your experience that AI cannot, at least in the foreseeable future, replace?
See, AI essentially is going to base a lot of its recommendations basis what has been happening so far. And what we have seen over the years with the digital adoption curve in India is that consumer habits also do evolve basis a lot of interventions. So for example, mobile data becoming cheaper was a huge intervention and that sort of changed people's digital browsing habits as well. So there could be many more interventions to come that might change the curve and take it sort of off the regular course. So I think, yeah, those could be the unknowns that are yet to come. So maybe I will adapt to that, but I don't know if it can factor in those interventions right now because those haven't happened yet.
Those haven't, yeah. So you see AI does well on what already is, but in terms of unexpected...
It's a possibility,
It's
yes.
a possibility on that, yeah. No, this has been a fascinating conversation and kudos to you for a category creation journey in a category that's complex, not the most glamorous. But yeah, I think that what you've done over the years is remarkable. If we were to conclude this based on your experiences and whatever you've seen, what would be your words of advice for the young person starting out as a marketer today?
One advice I'd offer, which everyone else seems to offer right now, is obviously get with the AI. Like obviously try and adapt it in as many areas as possible. In work, outside of work, and various parts of work. More from a marketing principles point of view, I'd say, brand building, and more from a marketing principles point of view, I'd say there is a fundamental difference between just advertising and brand building. And creativity itself does not mean great marketing. Real marketing gets you real results. And especially in categories that are slightly complex, for example, insurance. Sometimes being extremely simple and straightforward is the best course rather than just using creativity for the sake of it.
So those would be your two pieces. No, and I really like the one about says marketing is as good as the business it delivers.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's what
Yeah.
we have all been here
Yeah,
for.
the purpose of marketing is not just marketing. The purpose of marketing is business.
Yeah. No, I think that's an incredible way to conclude this. So thank you so much, Samir. Thank you for your well thought out answers.
Thank you, Manasi.
It was a pleasure.
Been a
Yeah.
pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.